You've unlocked a Roundtable.
Welcome to the Lost Levels Roundtable discussion of 13 Hours. My name is Chris. With me as always is Alex.
Hello.
And so we just watched Michael Bay's latest movie, and this is more of a based on true events action movie.
So kind of like Transformers 1 through 4, right?
Those are not based on actual events.
Oh, okay.
That's usually my joke.
Yeah, I know. I stole it from you.
Yeah, and I actually wasn't going to do it this time either.
Well,
So I feel kind of proud of myself.
I'm picking up your slack then.
Although I did feel like there should have been like at least one Optimus Prime cameo in this movie. At some point, I just expected a giant robot.
I'm pretty sure I saw a Ninja Turtle in one of the sewers. Just poke his head up.
Okay, that I didn't see that, but
I was paying attention to that.
okay, then that's fine. But yeah, Michael Bay, as any of our listeners know, is somebody that we joke around about, but like he's just because he's a caricature of a director.
He's become a character of himself. Like, a Michael Bay movie is very obviously a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's just explosions everywhere. There is always going to be an attractive female lead. There's slow motion shots. There's always several shots of the American flag. There's just key things that you can always identify a Michael Bay movie with.
Right.
Hence why I wanted to play Michael Bay bingo before this movie in jest, but in actuality, yeah, I kind of wanted to play Michael Bay bingo. But yeah, it's one of those movies that he tries to stray from and try to be a little bit more.
Yes, this was a more reserved Michael Bay movie in that sense, I would say.
Yeah, it's like his. It's so weird to say it, but it's like it's his take to try to be a real director.
A more serious director?
Yeah, it's weird to say that because like obviously he's a director. He's a very successful director. A lot of people watch his movies. A lot of people don't like him, but for whatever reason, he still makes a lot of money.
Yeah, because he makes those, those big summer blockbusters that are explosions and hot girls and what people like to go to a movie to see, to eat popcorn and just have a good time.
Yeah, well, whatever you think of Transformers or that series, that series has made a lot of money.
It's made millions.
So it might not be the greatest films and might not be the greatest depiction of human beings, because anytime a human talks in any of those movies, it feels like a character of a human, or a character like a cartoon character of a human, because they're not real people.
Right.
I think that's where I guess maybe that's where I'm going with that. Is this is his take on trying to make humans human, as opposed to cartoon figures.
Correct.
Does he succeed in doing that?
A bit. It's I always have trouble with these war movies.
Okay.
Just because it's especially lately, it's this bearded tough guy who's banding with these other bearded tough guys and shooting the other guys that are shooting at them. And it's hard to really build a lot of character between them. I mean, that was one of my big problems with Lone Survivor, was it was hard for me to really distinguish all the different people, aside from Marky Mark's character, who was the protagonist.
Well, because you know his face more.
Yeah.
I mean, like if they would have had actors that you recognize, then it'd be easier for you to track.
That's true, but yeah, at some point, all white people look alike.
Wow. No, but in this movie in particular, I do agree with you. I think that some of the people did kind of look very similar to each other, and all of the characters kind of had the same bravado and American patriotism about them. I mean, they're all military men. They're all just that. Like, it's just...
Right, but in the same sense, you can't go away from that knowing the background, especially since this is based off a true story. You have to depict these people...
Based.
Yes.
As we know in movies, I mean, you and I talk about this, when any time a movie is based on something, that means they're going to take a lot of liberties in terms of making this an interesting story, because a real depiction of these events might not be nowhere near as interesting for it to be a good movie.
Correct.
So they have to take liberties. They have to try to make these interesting shots. Like maybe these waves didn't necessarily take place the way that they did, or for whatever reason, I didn't.
Or the beats just happened in different order.
Yeah,
or something like that.
I would have loved to have actually read the events or what was released to us to find out a little bit more about.
Probably
this.
should have done our research, but
We didn't. So honestly, we're going off of this based solely on the movie. We know that it's based on stuff. I have, a sneaking suspicion a lot of it was dramatized for the big screen.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with. I'm not saying that, no, this movie has to be legit or has to be
because
real.
in the end of the day, it's a movie that has to be entertaining, much the same way that The Big Short was. That was a very entertaining movie on a very serious subject, and they had to cut it in a way and portray it in a way that people would enjoy it. Right.
Yeah. No, I agree. So I'm not one of a book reader saying, no, it happened like this, damn it. No, I don't know about the events. I am judging this movie
as a movie.
Solely as the movie. So that being said, I just, Michael Bay does succeed in making characters more human. However, he doesn't fully succeed.
No, not completely. I mean, because he does it in the most basic way possible that you expect from these type of movies, which is showing them talking to their families and, showing that they're a family man and everything like that, and they have kids. But outside of that, he doesn't really dig deep into their character.
No, and the weird part of that too is, it's a 2.5 hour runtime, and the whole setup, the whole first act of this movie is kind of long. So there's time to establish these characters a little bit more, but I think maybe he's trying to do too much with it, or he's trying too hard to try to say these are family men. Look, they're on their Skype every moment, every downtime they have to talk to their families and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the way he tries to convey it. But at the end of the day, when shit hits the fan, it turns back into a Michael Bay farce, where the person they're at a compound, and the leader of that compound is just a one-dimensional hard ass who doesn't like mercenaries. So he's going to be
the CIA guy. Yeah,
he's going to be very just cookie cutter. Blah, you can't do that. I hate you guys.
Yeah,
you guys are stupid. You shouldn't even be here. Stuff like that.
Yeah, and just to that point, I always find it funny, in all these different types of movies, if you have a movie that's following, military guys, it's always like, oh, the CIA is a bunch of pansies. But when you have a movie following CIA agents, it's like, oh, the military guys are such dumb buffoons. So they're always depicting the other, I don't even want to say the other side because they're on the same side, but the other faction of their side as something negative. And just, I find it to be the antithesis of what this movie is supposed to be. It's supposed to be about Americans banding together to try to save one another, but then it depicts a portion of us as not doing our jobs to their full potential.
Let's not kid ourselves. Strip away the pro-America approach to that. There's a very deep political statement involved in here, in this movie. This is a political movie. This is Michael Bay's infatuation with SEALs and army guys and them laying down their lives for innocent civilians, or laying down their lives as their heroes. But at the same time, he's also making it very clear that these guys were up against the wall and no one wanted to support them.
Right.
They show them trying to phone the government, trying to get them to get flybys. They show all this stuff, and help doesn't necessarily come for them. So it's kind of like it's a political statement. It's definitely saying something, and that's the part of it. It's like, okay, I get it, man. That's the part where Michael Bay just has this love affair with the military. Mm-hmm. And they let him have this love affair with the military time and time again, even though he kind of messes some stuff up. We all watched Pearl Harbor.
Yeah,
and how much,
we did.
And how much he really cares about the military. but still made a piece of shit movie. I mean, that movie was just turned into a love story that just was out of place. Like,
yeah, that movie fell apart. While this movie I did feel was at least more focused.
It's a little bit more focused, but like you could obviously tell that he just loves military shit. He loves blowing shit up. He loves showing it heroism in such a positive light that that's what he's going to do at kind of a disservice to everything else. Because once you focus in on that and that's your main focal point, you get into these dialogue sessions or these character interactions that are just so bro, and the dialogue is really bad, and it's like the machismo behind everything that's said is just so over the top. Like, come on, this takes me out of the movie. Like, it's so bro.
So, what's up, brother, and all that type of stuff, you mean?
Yeah, just like their interaction, their conversations between each other. It's just so pro military. Like, it's I don't know. Like, it takes you out of it.
I don't know. At the same time, I do feel like, they're, never being in the military or serving or anything like that, I have to feel that there is that camaraderie and they do talk to each other. Maybe he does it to a degree that's a little unbelievable, but at the same sense, I think there is truth behind that.
I think it gets to an exaggerated, escalated level.
Okay.
Maybe it's not. Maybe that's an actual depiction. Maybe Seal sat down with him and wrote that script. And that's what we would say in this scenario. Then okay, you know what? Fine. As it comes across on film, it comes off a little too strong. Yeah, I mean,
I know people that served, and talking to them, I don't get the sense that they talk like that. But talking to a few others, maybe some of them do. So I think it just goes on a case by case basis at that point.
What do you want to talk about in the movie?
Well, let's. Something that really took me out of it was some of the camera work in there.
Yes.
Like, some of the shots are really good, but some of them felt really cheap. Like it was shot on an iPhone or something like that. Like, the lighting was really weird, and it looked grainy, and just like, it looked like it had a weird refresh rate or something like that. It didn't look right, and really took me out of it.
Oh, I'm going a little bit different.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not going with like the greenness or the quality of the film that they used. I'm going more of, at the beginning of the film, there's like a high-speed chase, and it goes into the stupid action trope of flash editing.
Yeah.
Where it was shaky cam all over the damn place, so you can't even tell what's going on. I feel like we've evolved to have action actually displayed, pull the camera back a little bit, and not do these cheap, fast edits of trying to figure out what action is going on, because it just takes away from everything.
Especially when you have Michael Bay money, you could make shots like that work.
And
because you have
that's the thing, like,
the budget.
It felt like this was the way that it's shot feels like a tale of two movies, because at the beginning of the movie you have those flashy cut quick action scenes that are way too close to the action, where you can't necessarily tell what's going on, which I hate. It's jarring, and it just doesn't appeal to me when I'm watching an action movie. But then later in the movie, when the siege is actually happening, there's some great shots in there. The camera's pulled back. You have a visual of the field. You see what's going on.
I totally agree with you on that. Yeah,
there's some great stuff. Like, there's some quality work.
There's some awesome squib work going on as well. And people getting hit by bullets, like I felt that. Like,
yeah, definitely.
The way that worked, they did a really good job with all that.
I'll give you that. Yeah, there's some
brutal shots.
Right, I completely agree. There's some good stuff there. Like, that was why I was kind of frustrated with us. I guess I was especially frustrated with the beginning action scenes where they're poorly cut like that or poorly filmed, because you had such a good thing at the end of the film where it's like, yeah, this action looks good on film. This is great. This is what I kind of wanted to see in a war movie. I'm appreciating this. So I was disappointed to see that stuff in the beginning, because it feels different. Maybe that was second unit doing something, I don't know, but whatever it wasn't filmed as good as an action movie can be nowadays.
Yeah, and I think, you know what, And it just could be Michael Bay getting used to a different type of movie where it's not a bunch of CGI heavy stuff where, you have to do those cuts just to make everything work and flow right. He has the opportunity to do that and show more field of view.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I want. Sad thing is, like, I like a lot of Michael Bay action stuff because it's so tongue in cheek. It's
so ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. That I love. It's like a guilty pleasure. Like, I really do like some of the stuff. I'm not. I don't hate Michael Bay by any means. I enjoy a lot of the stuff he does. I question a lot of it, and I find a lot of it humorous. Not in a positive necessarily way, but I still enjoy the film overall. So I'm not hating on Michael Bay. That's why I was kind of disappointed to see that. Like, he does good work in here. Like, there's some solid stuff. It's just the whole movie, or the movie as a whole, just didn't necessarily lump in to make a great movie.
Okay. I think I agree with you there. Like, it's not an incredible war movie. It's one you've seen before. It's done to a better degree than others, but I don't think it really. It's one that would stand down and really stand the test of time. Yeah,
no, I think that the character development wasn't as good as it could have been. You don't care about the characters if you're like watching a character. No, okay.
I mean, I think there were some that I did care about. Namely Jim Halpert.
From The Office.
Yeah, so his character was Jack Silva. And I cared about him, and just maybe because it is my association with him being Jim Halpert, and I've always liked him as an actor, and I enjoyed seeing him in a much different role than I'm used to seeing. So I think he did a good job, and I enjoyed seeing him branch out a little bit more.
What else has he been in recently?
Recently, I don't. No, I mean, other movies he's done was Away We Go. That was a few years ago. He was.
Was there another one where he played a military man?
I don't think so.
I could have sworn there was. I don't know. Maybe there's not. But yeah, I think that his transition has been really good. I like seeing him as an action person. I thought that he fit the role really well.
I thought it was funny seeing that one of his partners, one of his buddies, was Roy from The Office, Pam's ex, who he was always at. So I found it funny seeing them in the same unit together, being friends, when I'm so used to seeing them be, against each other. So that was funny and refreshing. And I'm not going to lie, it did take me out of it a little bit, because I'm like, no. Because in my mind, they're the same characters at this point.
Yeah. Although Roy, he did a really good job.
Yeah, he did, actually.
I liked him in this role, or in this movie a lot, too.
But once again, it's my association with him and his previous roles where I kind of started to care for that character. But, they also got a little into him, and he had that more spiritual background to him. And I did like that. Little tropey, but still nice. And then you had the stereotypical, hot shot guy who doesn't really play by the rules all the time, is kind of cocky, that Tonto guy or whatever. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I enjoyed that character as well. So I can't say I didn't care about all the characters. There's some that I did enjoy and I kind of rooted for, but there's others that are just kind of whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there is some successes in his characters. Like, there are some people that you're like, all right, these are more believable characters to me, as opposed to
characters.
What Bay has done in the past with a lot of his human people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he succeeds in a lot more areas than I anticipated. I honestly just felt like I was just going to watch a 2.5-hour movie of just explosions and shit. This wasn't necessarily that. This had a little bit more to it.
Yeah, there's a little depth to it.
Yeah, it had a little bit going on to it. So like I was more entertained than I thought I would be.
Okay. I think about what I expected from it, which is fine, because I mean I wasn't expecting a great movie, but I was expecting to at least enjoy myself and have a good time, and for the most part I think I did.
Okay. What else do you want to talk about before we go into final thoughts here?
I don't No, because I think the other stuff I want to talk about would be more towards the spoiler section.
Okay, so
Yeah, guys, it's going to be a spoiler section after we give our final thoughts. So stick around for that if you've seen the movie.
yeah, so any listeners to our roundtables know that our spoilers come after the credits here. So why don't we wrap this up here and go into our credits?
Okay. My final thoughts is, like I said, I did enjoy this movie to a degree that I expected to. So it succeeds in that sense. It's your standard military army type movie. Don't really expect anything that goes beyond that. I don't think it's something you necessarily have to see in theaters, but if it's on Redbox or it's on Netflix, it wouldn't hurt to watch. It does have its moments. It is a well-made movie for the most part, so I don't think you're going to be doing yourself a disservice if you do watch it. So if you have the chance to only watch it, it'll be a good movie.
Yeah, I for the most part enjoyed it. I was more surprised by it because I expected just a Michael Bay trope. This wasn't necessarily that. It had a little bit more to it, as we kind of discussed about for the last 20 minutes here. But it's it's clearly a political movie. It's a movie with two sides. If you're like pro America, pro like bro and masculinity, this is a good movie for you. These characters act in that type of way, and at the end of the movie, you feel like pride for servicemen.
Yeah.
So if you're on that side of the fence, then hey man, this is the great movie for you. If you're on the other side of the fence, where like this movie is just clearly showing that type of thing, you're gonna see that, and you're gonna pick that apart throughout this whole entire movie. So you might not enjoy that nearly as much. I kind of ride that fence where it's like, all right, I'll take the movie for what it's worth. So I didn't hate it, didn't love it. It was just there. I think after a month, I'll forget that this movie kind of existed. There's been a lot of better war movies in recent history. American Sniper I enjoyed more. Lone Soldier I enjoyed more.
I don't know. I think I actually enjoyed this more than Lone Soldier.
Okay. So I just, that's where I'm kind of like torn about this movie. I had thought about it a lot too. So I think that if you're listening to our description, it kind of interests you, go check it out. Check out Matinee. I don't know if I'd go full price for it.
Yeah, Matinee would be fine.
So yeah. How can I reach you, Alex?
You can follow me on Twitter. My name there is Alex Sandberg, AlexSanberg, or email me directly at the website, alex@lawslevel.com. What about you, Chris?
Twitter.com/calmintensity is where you can reach me on Twitter. Instagram is christiscalm. We are on social media all over the place for Lost Level. LostLevel.com is our website. So in the upper right-hand corner of that, you'll get links to all of our social media. And we're also making a huge push on YouTube. So definitely check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe on there. We'll be doing some exciting stuff in 2016 on there. So we'd really appreciate you guys checking that out and subscribing now and getting ahead of the curve. So we'd appreciate it. And hang on for spoilers, because we'll talk to you guys right after this break. And spoiler section. Thanks for hanging on after the credits. I don't know if there's really too much in the spoilers for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, it's based off true events. So, I mean, if you read the news, you kind of know what happens. But, I mean, I think what I really want to touch on is the characters that die.
Okay.
And, you have that one who you really, they try to relate to him. And I think they do a good enough job for establishing the character. And I did feel for him.
Okay, here's my ignorance. This is the problem with the film that I had, was who the hell died? I still don't know who the fuck died.
Yes, okay, thank you. That was going to be the part I touched on. Because we know the one character, the Rome guy.
We had the leader, macho guy, and then you had...
who was Jim Halpert's buddy.
Right, who was with him in the line of battle.
And so when he died, I felt it, and, I think, John Krasinski did a really good job portraying his grief over it. Like, when he called his wife and everything, like, that was great. He did a wonderful job doing that, and it was really believable. But then they showed someone else who died on the American side, and I'm like, who's this?
Yeah, and that's where Alex's comment is kind of funny because like a lot of white people look alike. When you get into the military film like that, yeah, they kind of do.
But the thing is, I really feel like this wasn't an established character that they pointed towards, because like really the main focus is these 6 paramilitary guys, the mercenaries, and I know which one was which, and that seemed like a random 7th guy that they never established, which is weird.
I'm honestly going to watch this movie again to try to figure out who it was, because when I was watching initially, I couldn't figure it out.
Same here.
All
so that's a serious failing of this movie.
I felt like I was a failure watching it as an audience member, because I was like,
no.
Oh shit, who is that? Was I not paying attention?
No, you were. We both were, but it was a character they didn't really establish.
Yeah,
if they did a really poor job of it.
Yeah.
And secondly, if the ambassador dies, and so is his assistant or whatever that guy was.
The IT guy. I guess he was an IT guy / assistant to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, they both die.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I honestly expected them to go into the compound and save them and pull them out.
All right. So that was a little, once again, we didn't read up, do the research, so I didn't know the events leading up to everything. So it was surprising that had happened.
But it makes sense, because then it shows just how like the U.S. was reluctant to help during this crisis, because they didn't want to. They were on a compound that necessarily CIA wasn't supposed to be there to begin with, so they didn't want to like red flag it, but like sending in jets and doing all this other shit. So they pretty much left them high and dry to try to find their own help.
And once again, just kind of drives that political statement home, that there's these people that need help, and we are reluctant to provide it at times because of whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, when you're kind of looking down or looking at it, like, okay, you have, your superpower, you're the government. Are you going to risk everything by trying to save a couple people, like an ambassador?
Right.
Like, who is that ambassador in the grand scheme of things for your big plan? Not much. So like it's kind of showing that they're not necessarily going to lift a finger for that. And then this movie shows that all these mercenaries, they stood up and they're going to fight till the death. And
well, yeah, but I mean, I don't want to say that ambassador is worth not much, because I think the idea that they were trying to establish earlier is how important it is to maintain, cordial environments between these different nations, despite everything that's going on. So he is important, but it's showing what one part valued more than the other part. Really,
he's important in a small scale type of way. An overall achieving goal, he was expendable because they didn't want to admit to doing what they were doing.
Right.
So that's basically what it kind of comes down to. So whatever, like I said in the final review, is like whatever side of the fence you're on in that regard, that's how you're going to like perceive this film. Mm-hmm. That's where your enjoyment's going to lie. So if you're on one side of the fence, you might really, really enjoy this movie. If you're on the other side of the fence, you're like, I can see what this movie is.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I was torn about. I did, as you kind of talked about, the squib work was pretty awesome. Like, and the violence in it is pretty heavy at times. Like the dude's arm gets kind of shredded.
Yeah, and it's just like almost hanging there by a thread, it seemed.
Yeah.
Like, and then, you know what? Then that made me really care about that character too, because I'm like, that guy's a badass. I'm glad he's on our side, And there he is. He's in like the mag bay bleeding. He's like, give me my gun, cock it. And, if these people come in, I'm going to have to shoot them. Like he's there, arm hanging off, and he's still ready to fight. So I'm like, that's impressive.
That's what a lot of these movies try to do.
And once again, you had to wonder how much that's blown up for the movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, your arm is seriously just hanging off. You're bleeding profusely everywhere. I don't know how much energy you're going to have before that shock sits in and you're like, oh, fuck.
You're right. I mean, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's... For the movie, it plays well. Mm-hmm. The character is a badass. They pretty much just tape him up and he's ready to go again.
Yeah.
All things said and done.
But
yeah.
I mean, and just going on, what these people went through, I think they did a good job of establishing the tension and uncertainty of what they're going through, because, you have these people on their side as well that look local and look like they could just be part of the terrorists, and it's how they really can't trust anyone. And so creating that tension in what they're going to do, like, it really heightens it, especially towards the end when you saw that convoy come in with all those technicals with, machine guns planted. You're like, what's going to go down? And once you realize they're on the same time, like, there's just this huge sense of relief that just rushes over.
Yeah, that again, I agree with you. I think that the part of the success of this film is conveying a war type of atmosphere that you would never want to be in yourself.
Yeah.
Realistically, that's what war is, man. No one wants to be in war. It's a shitty thing to be in. Like, and you watch a lot of these movies that convey it like in a heroic type of thing, but in reality, I would not want to have been in Benghazi because you don't know who the hell is who.
Right.
And you have all these people running around with guns, and they might be on your side, they might not be on your side. You can ask them, and they're not going to be like, it's not going to be like a typical cop trope movie, like where in any movie, if you ask a cop, he has to say, yeah, I'm a cop. It's not going to be like
that's
that.
That's not true.
Right, but that's a movie thing.
Yeah.
So, like, it's just funny where it's just like, well, they could lie to you, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, okay, yeah, you're that guy. Turn around and shoot the guy in the back. And then what?
Exactly. So,
Like,
you get that. They're pointing guns at people that could be their allies. Like, don't come out of the bushes because I don't know who the fuck you are.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. Like, that's what it succeeded on.
Yes.
I would have not wanted to have been there.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Right.
Kind of like how Everest made me say, I'm never going to want to climb Mount Everest.
Despite how bad that movie was.
Despite how bad that movie was, I got the feeling like that's as close to Everest as I ever want to get.
Exactly.
I don't want to climb a mountain and deal with those situations or live in those conditions.
Because there is nothing enjoyable about that.
I don't want to do that at all. I'll watch that from my couch. But no.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I kind of felt with this movie. Like, this movie captured that feeling that I want more movies to kind of capture in a realistic way. Like, dude, this shit sucks, man.
Totally.
Like, I would not want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to them for actually doing that as well as they did.
Right. Yeah. I think this does it a bit better than I've seen in other movies, honestly. So.
Oh yeah, you see. I mean, even though like you still have Michael Bay really like filleting the military in aspects of this movie, he still does show that war is some serious shit.
War as hell, and even the characters that go through it, like every one of the main characters that we follow, I think retired after that because they were just done.
Yeah,
and I think that's what he was really trying to show at this point was, how much it wears on the troops.
Oh yeah, dude.
Not really the heroism, but the heroism, of course, but also just how much it affects them in the long run.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One thing I did want to touch on before I forget was at the end, the last sequence where the guy's arm gets kind of shredded, where they're firing mortars at them.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they just continue doing mortar fire instead of just stopping?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
They set it up where they got the right coordinates for the mortar fire to hit. They hit definitely the top of the main building, and they could have just been mortaring the shit out of them. They had enough firepower to do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Instead of trying to send in all these ground troops, maybe send in a flanking unit, but at the same time fire some of those mortar shells, and you'd have a lot more success because you're hitting them because you can't necessarily see them. But I don't know, man.
I mean, part of it, you have to. Maybe it's just the idea of, that's the shock and awe they need before sending in the troops. Like, they can't be that expendable on mortars. Maybe they have a limited supply. Maybe they weren't sure how well they were hitting it because, mortar fire happens from far away, so they can't really always see what they're hitting. They could get an approximation.
Yeah, they have spotters for that stuff, though.
Yeah, that's true.
So the fact that, like, the enemy was using mortar against us, and then they shot a few rounds, and then it just seemed to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody recovered, and then our ground troops came, or not our ground troops, but allies came in and helped save the day and everything. But in reality, it's like, dude, just keep mortaring them, man. They're sitting ducks on top of the roofs for mortar fire.
Okay. Yeah, and the one last thing I think I want to touch upon is at the end, after the mortar fire, after everything, once everything has calmed and our troops are being ushered out and they're all gone, it shows the field that they were defending, and it showed all the terrorists that they killed and their loved ones and families coming in and mourning them. And at that point, I was confused at what the purpose of that was. I mean, was it trying to garner sympathy for them? And if so, why? Because you never really get a good idea of that side and what they're doing and why they're doing it. So why are they showing this, and what are they trying to establish from it?
I think that's where the message gets kind of fuzzy.
Right.
Because it's trying to be as politically correct as possible. You have your pro mercenary people that are really just like these people saved everything. These are heroes. Then you have people with the government side of it. Then you also have the people who are humanity side of it, where despite whoever's wearing what, these are still human beings getting killed. They still have families and shit.
Yeah.
So you're trying to show that aspect of it too.
Right.
So you're trying to cover the board of interest in all this other stuff. So,
and I thought that was the case, but if that was the case, I just don't think they did it in the best way possible, because that's the only time you really see that side of it for them, and you don't really get anything else established for them. So I felt if they, had some more leading up to that, had a little bit more of the terrorist side, it would make more sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So why don't we just wrap up here?
Okay, so we gave our final thoughts. So
yeah, thanks for listening, guys. We'll be reviewing another movie next week. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, bye.